Video 5. Hey, here's a wake-up call for all of us. We could be hurting the people that matter the very most without even knowing it. My next guest is shining a spotlight on behaviors that can harm relationships and throwing out some healthy relationship habits to try instead. Our favorite Studio 5 relationship coach, Dr. Matt Townsend, joins me. You're our only Studio 5 relationship coach, but you are one of our favorite people.
Your favorite.
Thanks for being here. This is a good topic.
Cool, huh?
Yeah, so why do we act out in ways that would hurt rather than help our relationships?
So you think about it, as a human being, your primary goal is human protection. Protect yourself. Yourself first, right? So everything we've kind of learned, everything we've evolved, everything we've become is about self-preservation. It's about selfishness.
I was going to say, is that a nice way of calling us selfish? Yeah,
that is the technical term for selfish.
Self-preservation.
We're here to protect ourselves. The problem is, it's not about relationship growth as much as it is self-protection and preservation. So we have accumulated some habits, and in our DNA we've handed down some traits, some behavioral traits that humans do naturally that sometimes are counterproductive to long-term love.
So it's human nature at play. We're not terrible people here.
No, it's human nature, except a healthy, loving, long-term bonded relationship is not always natural. So we have to work hard to make those relationships work and overcome our natural self.
Well, are these behaviors then that are easy to overcome and easy to turn the habit around?
They're not always easy to overcome, but they are easy to start noticing. And that's one of the reasons I want people to just pay attention, because once you notice it's happening to you, then you can start to make some changes.
So step number one, you say, along the lines of paying attention, act as if people are watching you, are noticing what you're doing.
So the research shows when people are watched, they do better. When we watch people, they actually perform better. And it all started in the 20s. They did a study. They thought the lighting would impact people's work environment. So they had people go in and install new lighting. And while they were installing the lighting, the people produced more. And they realized that it had nothing to do with the lighting. It was that people were standing on ladders watching everyone, and everyone thought they were being watched. And when you were being watched, you tend to perform better.
Any mother could tell you that, right? You watch your child behave at certain ages and stages totally differently in front of a teacher or a doctor than they do at home.
Pay attention to it. So the funny thing in marriage is a lot of times we're better publicly as a couple than we are privately.
I believe that.
Because the minute we come home, we relax, we go to Netflix, we go to the computer, we ignore each other. So one of the rules is start acting as if people are watching you. You want your marriage to get better? Then act as if you had a lot of people watching. Act as if you were on a television show like Big Brother and they were filming everything you were doing. Act as if your kids pay attention to you, because they do. People are watching you. You just don't think they do, so you don't pick up your game. And
it would totally change the game, change the way we interact, even communicate. I've said this before, but we communicate all day long. I communicate for a living, and sometimes I go home and it does take that extra effort to communicate to my husband, right? But it's worth it.
But when you go out in public, you'll hold his hand, you might listen to him more, you'll make sure you introduce him to people. But when we're in private, blah. Whatever. Blah. Get your own stuff.
How can we break away from negative thinking? Because that's a trap you touch on often that can take down a relationship.
And there's a process we have as humans called the halo effect. And once we've kind of placed the halo on somebody, everything they do is like from God. It's from above. But we also have kind of the devil effect, or I call it the pitchfork effect, where if I peg you as negative or bad, then I start associating everything you do as negative. So one of the rules of seeing people as positively as you can and giving the benefit is, remember, like when you were dating, they had the halo on. They couldn't do anything wrong. Now they can't do anything right. So start to notice that if your partner doesn't do something well, don't allow that to go to being they can't do anything at all or everything about them is negative. Start to notice and see and point and pick out good things your partner does every day and force yourself to tell them, hey, I really thought that was really cool. I thought you nailed that speech. I really thought that was a great job. Be positive and start forcing yourself to see the positive, and it'll change you.
You're essentially saying we can choose to put a halo over their head or a pitchfork in their
head. And we do it. Think about that, to protect yourself.
Yeah. All right, so do you find as we talk about relationship work in general, and you're coaching these couples day in and day out, is it human nature to opt for what's easy as opposed to what we really need to work for?
Yeah. So there's a principle called reactance, and nobody likes it, right? But reactance is this idea that if somebody's telling me what to do, I will inherently do the opposite. If somebody is pushing me towards something, I'm not going to be pushed.
Gosh, we're stubborn, aren't we?
We're very stubborn. Even, by the way, if it's good for us. If you're telling me to eat my peas, I will not eat my peas. And kids do it. We understand that kids do it. But adults do it. In our marriages, we do it. There's times that just because our partner wants a hug, we do not want to give it. Okay, I'm not touching you again, you dog. Quit being all touchy. So the problem is we end up being what's called it's reactants. But what we ought to be doing is making the decisions based on what's right. What's the most important thing I can do for my marriage today? And let's work on what's right instead of what I'm reacting to. Because there's a lot of things in marriage that we may not feel like doing, but we do it anyway, and we do it because it's right, not digging in and fighting against it.
So don't look, I like this principle that you're pointing out, don't look for the discounts in those relationships or the work it takes, but look for the distance, the long-term investment.
Long-term distance, because a discount, by the way, you human beings will more likely take $20 today than $100 in a year. Because we discount. So we would rather discount the long term and take what's in our hand today. The same is true in our marriages. I would rather watch Netflix today than worry about my marriage 5 years from now. The problem with it is to have a long-term relationship, you can't be discounting. You have to be thinking distance.
Discipline, doesn't it?
Totally.
Day in and day out.
And it takes discipline, and character is what contradicts and goes against the natural man. So we're going to use our character, our essence, our good side to overcome the natural man.
How can you keep, as a couple, how can you keep yourself from falling into those same old habits? You're right, the goal is progression, the goal is to get closer and connect deeper, but yet the same problems and issues seem to trip us up.
Okay, so you remember the placebo effect, where if I give somebody a sugar pill and they believe it's going to work, it works in their body and in their mind. It doesn't just work intellectually or mentally, it actually works physiologically. That's called the placebo, because we think something's going to work. Do you know what we call it when there is no effect or the effect is negative?
What?
It's called nocebo. Placebo and nocebo. Nocebo is the opposite of a placebo.
So apply the nocebo effect
in my marriage, I may think that by ignoring my spouse, that's going to get my spouse to come back to me and want to talk to me more. The funny thing is, it doesn't happen, and it hasn't for 10 years. So I still ignore her. She still doesn't move or come back, but I keep doing it. That's a nocebo effect. It's actually hurting me. So I want us all to just start learning. If I try something new and it doesn't create the desired result, it's not working. So give it up. Don't keep doing the same stupid thing over and over, thinking this is going to work this time. I don't know what his problem is. So once you see a nocebo effect, figure out another way to do it to get the results you need. And then if you can get the results you need, life's good. It's working.
So a little bit of a trial and error in that space,
test, adjust. And if you're in for the long haul, we can do this all day. We can do this forever. And all we need is a little improvement over time.
It adds up.
Huge.
Good words, Matt. Thanks you so
Brooklyn.
much. Everyone here at Studio 5 is so excited for the big Valentine's Date night. You only do this twice a year, so a lot of people out there have been waiting and wanting to get on board with this. Now's the time.
This is all about selfishness. We're going to take selfishness out of the relationship. We're going to fight it and rip it out of the relationship. You just go to Date Nights with Matt. Very simple. We give you a discount if you enter in the Studio 5 code, and it's February 12th, I believe. Is that it?
Right.
Sounds so right to me.
That sounds right.
But it's Saturday night, and it's 2 hours of getting rid of selfishness in our love.
All right. We'll be there. We hope you will as well. We'll link you over to make it easy from our website. Thank you so much.